morning, guys. Today we are going to talk about adjective clauses with prepositions, quantifiers or nouns, and adjective phrases. Adjective clauses with prepositions. The relative pronouns who, that, which, and whose plus noun can be used as object of prepositions in adjective clauses. Note: a preposition can come at the beginning of the clause before who, which, and whose, but it cannot come at the beginning in a clause with that. For example, Laura is the doctor for which work. Laura is the doctor which I work for. In this sentence, we can see the difference between the first one and the second one in the preposition, because on the first sentence the preposition is before the relative pronoun, and the second one we observe the preposition at the end of the sentence. Okay, the second example: it is the team for which he plays. Is grammatically incorrect. Use the preposition for before the relative pronoun that. For example, it is the team for that he plays. It is a wrong way to use a preposition. Okay. Sentences with the preposition at the beginning of the clause are formal. For example, the first sentence: he is the singer to whom I wrote. This is a formal way to use this sentence. And the sentence with the preposition at the end of the clause are informal. For example, the second sentence: he is the singer whom I wrote to. This is an informal way to use this sentence. Okay. We can omit the relative pronoun who, that, and which after a preposition. When we do this, the preposition moves to the end of the clause. For example, that is the video game which I read about, and she is the writer that I walk about. Be careful. Whose cannot be omitted. For example, he is the musician whose concerts I go to. I can see in the first one examples that when I omit the relative pronoun, immediately the preposition goes to the end of the sentence. But it is wrong with the relative pronoun whose because we can omit it. Adjective clause with quantifiers. Some adjective clauses have the pattern quantifier plus of plus relative pronoun. Quantifier occur only in clauses with whom, which, and whose. These clauses may refer to people or things. These clauses are formal. Of the right of the slide, we can observe some examples of quantifier, like as, most, a number, some, a couple, a few, several, or two. These are the quantifiers that we can use in the adjective clauses. Okay. For example, the film has many stars, few of whom I recognized. He made 8 films, all of which I like. Okay. If a clause with a quantifier occurs within the main clause, it is enclosed in commas. For example, the first one sentence: her movies most of which I have watched, are popular. Here we can see the main clause enclosed in commas. Okay. If it occurs after the main clause, a comma precedes it. For example, the second one sentence. I like her movies, most of which I have watched. Adjective clauses with nouns. Some adjective clauses have the pattern noun plus of which. These clauses refers only to things. For example, musicals, an example of which is Chicago, are still popular. It is grammatically incorrect if I say actors, an example of which Al Pacino, are still popular, because we are referring to a person. If a clause with a noun plus of which occurs within the main clauses, it is enclosed in commas. For example, the second one sentence, the series, a production of which Zack Snyder made part, was very interested. If it occurs after the main clause, a comma precedes it. For example, the first one sentence. She loves the terror movies, an example of which is her scary collection. Adjective phrases. Remember that a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. A phrase is a group of words that does not have both a subject and a verb. We shorten adjective clauses to adjective phrases with the same meaning. For example, he is my friend who was in charge of my birthday party. Here we can observe an adjective clause because we use a relative pronoun who and has a subject and a verb. The second one, he is my friend in charge of my birthday party. We can observe an adjective phrase because the main clause do not have a subject and neither have a relative pronoun. Okay. To shorten an adjective clause with a verb, reduce the clause to an adjective phrase by deleting the relative pronoun and the verb. Be careful. Adjective clause with be verbs and can be reduced only when who, which, or that is the subject pronoun of the clause. For example, Lady Gaga, who is a famous singer, won many awards. Lady Gaga, a famous singer, won many awards. We can see the differences between both sentences because the second one do not have a relative pronoun. The second one is reduced. If an adjective clause needs commas, the corresponding phrase also needs commas. For example, Avengers Endgame was a long movie, which was launched in 2019. Avengers Endgame was a long movie, launched in 2019. If the first one have a comma, we should infer that the second one has to have a comma too. Changing adjective clauses to adjective phrases. If there is not the verb in the adjective clause, it is often possible to change the clause to an adjective phrase. Do this by deleting the relative pronoun and changing the verb to its ing form. You can do this only when who, which, or that is the subject pronoun of the clause. For example, I like any song that features Blackpink. We can see the change. I like any song featuring Blackpink. We omit the relative pronoun that and change the verb features in its ing form. Now, let's do some exercises to demonstrate that we understood the lesson.